Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I would like to call to order the Bamberg County School District Board of Trustees meeting to order. Today's date is November 7th, 2022, and the time is 6 o'clock p.m. Board members, before we move further on to approval of the agenda, which is item number 2, I would like to read a card that was sent to the board. The front of the card says, "There are good people in this world," and it says, "To my Bamberg County Schools and Board, I would like to take this time to say thank you so very much for your love, beautiful flowers, but most of all, your prayers. Like you all, thank you so much from the McMillan, Richardson, and Cease family. Thank you so very much." So I wanted to just read that to the board. We are down to item number 2 on the agenda, which is approval of the agenda. Board members, you've had an opportunity to receive and review the agenda. What is the pleasure of the board with regards to approval of the agenda?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
at this time I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda as written. Second.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, if you're in favor of approval of the agenda, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it, and the motion carries. One other item before we go on to number 3. Mr. Hires had some traveling matters that did not allow him to be at tonight's meeting. I believe there was a delay or switch of his flight from Chicago coming back, so that's the reason why he's not here, but we have a quorum, so we're moving forward. Number 3 on your agenda is approval of the minutes for October 10th, 2022. You have all had an opportunity to receive and review them prior to tonight's meeting. What is the pleasure of the board with regards to approval of these meeting minutes?
Madam Chair, I
Yes.
move that we approve the minutes.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor
Second.
and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, if you're in favor of this, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none, the ayes have it, and the motion carries. We are now down to item number 4, which is school reports, and I will open it up to Dr. Ray with Denmark-Oler Elementary School.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Current enrollment at Denmark-Oler Elementary is 267. I believe that's down by about 3 from the last month. We did have 1 student to transfer within the state, and then the other 2 transferred to Florida.
Okay.
With the number of discipline incidents, I gave a attachment that shows the current year compared to last year. And with last year, for example, in, I think it was October of 2021, out of the 40 incidents, about half of them, 20, were for a bus. And for September, out of the 34, I think it was like 17 was also for the bus. So one thing, in conversation, we're not sure if students were getting back used to riding the bus, for example, after being out for that year previously. But we're pretty much about the same, not counting, so many referrals for the buses.
Okay.
The next one is the Tri-County Community Foundation Grant. We submitted a grant application for $5,000. We are appreciative of $500. It is for a artist in residence, and she's going to work on a mural for our school, and it's going to be in a location where all students will have access to it, and we will focus on foundational skills. So once we get the exact dates of when she's available, we're going to continue the plans for that particular grant.
Great. That's wonderful.
And the 3rd grade parent meeting, this is just a repeat of the meeting from September. We still want to make sure that all of our 3rd grade parents are well aware of the Reach to Succeed. So we want to offer another session. And that will be on November the 15th, one at 1:15, and then another one at 5 o'clock. So those flyers have gone out so the parents are aware that if they did not attend the September 27th meeting, we're inviting them to come in November. And then the field trips, I just wanted to point out that, of course, this year, I commend our teachers and staff for all that they do every day in our building. This year, our teachers are really focusing on finding, some educational and interesting field trips for our students to attend. We were invited by Denmark Tech to attend their EduTech back in October. So we had some students who attended that. They were worn out because the teachers said they did go throughout the campus, so that was a good experience for them. Some other trips, of course, include Adventure, the zoo. We have a group of our special needs students who will attend the civic ballet. I believe that's going to be in Orangeburg. So we are pleased that our teachers are back to we're allowing our students to experience different field trips. And then the other items are just informational items for dates for upcoming events.
Okay.
Any questions?
Questions? No? Thank you so much, Dr. Wade. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Next up, with Denmark Oler Middle School, we have Ms. Goldsmith.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We are currently at, when I sent the report, we were at 148, we're now at 149. 149 students. We received another 8th grade. So we are at 40. With our discipline report, you see that our greatest area has been our bus violations, but I think that we will see a decline in those. Our students are becoming acclimated again to the types of behavior that is required of them for riding the bus. We do not have any confirmed COVID cases when this report was sent, but we are noticing a rise in flu cases. Have a lot of students that are out and are being affected by the flu. Our recruitment efforts continue at the middle school. We are in need of 2 science, 2 social studies, and 1 math teacher. The ELA teacher, we are waiting on paperwork for that teacher to return. And so hopefully she will be able to return soon. One of our math teachers has returned, and so 7th is our last time meeting, and that's our 7th and 8th grade students. And so we're happy that he's back and are able to work with those students. 7th and 8th grade students, we took 25 students. They participated at South Carolina State University on Monday, October 31st for College and Career Readiness Day. They were introduced to majors and eligible for preparation for colleges and careers. And the students were able to meet the president of the university, and they were taken to lunch at Fats Cafe in conjunction with the Garrett program at Voorhees University. We had parent-teacher conferences on Monday. We did ours a little later because I was at a conference and I wanted to make sure that I was there to greet parents and to answer any questions that they may have had. We had 46 parents who attended, 27 were 6th grade, 10 were 7th, and 9 were 8th grade. Our students celebrated homecoming in conjunction with Denmark Oler High School. We crowned our class king and queens as well as the school queen. We recognized Red Ribbon Week, the 24th through the 28th, with various activities to discourage the use of drugs. I held individual conferences with all of the students, with my 149, to address academic and any behavioral concerns, just to encourage them to keep pushing forward for the second quarter. And so those went well. Our students will be taking pictures on this Friday with Strawbridge, and we're also planning a spring picture day as well, where they'll be able to take buddy pictures and pictures with their friends. We were able to obtain all of our students' updated immunizations thanks to the effort of Mr. Washington, our social worker, who was very helpful, and Denmark Family Health Center. We had a total of 6 students who were out of compliance, and we were able to get all those students back in the building within a week. November 11th, Friday, we will observe a Veterans Day program with students highlighting the purpose of the holiday and our students have participated in the arts and writing contest that is sponsored by Bamberg County.
Great. Anyone have any questions for Ms. Goldsmith? No? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next up, for Denmark OR High School, we have Dr. Simmons.
Good evening, all.
Good evening.
It's good to see each and every one of you again. Looking forward to tomorrow's election day.
Oh, yeah.
But my purpose tonight is to talk a little bit about Denmark High School. Our current enrollment is 185. We've had 2 students leave and 2 were walking in the door as those 2 were leaving. So we maintained our 185. You see the grade level breakdowns there. We currently have 38 students enrolled in dual enrollment classes in conjunction with Denmark Technical College. Kids are taking courses such as welding, certified nursing assistant, applied science, and health science. It is our goal to obviously increase that number during the second semester. They're actually in the process now of doing their registration for next semester, so we anticipate having more students enrolled in dual enrollment courses for the second semester at Denmark Technical College. We held our first quarter honors assembly last Friday. For the first time in the 5 years that I've been involved at Denmark High School, we actually had to put out chairs for parents. We had that many parents come, which is something that I've not seen us have to do before. So I was really pleased to see that. I was pleased at the number of students who made the honor roll. I thought it went extremely well, so I want to thank parents who may be here tonight or watching. Thank them for coming and supporting our efforts to do all that we do at Denmark High School. Discipline incidents, there were a total of 25 discipline incidents. You have a breakdown there of the various types of incidents. And I would say as a high school principal, because I've worked at other high schools, I won't call it a miracle, but it's pretty close when you have that few referrals at a high school. 25, especially for the types of referrals that we've had. So I'm really pleased with how our kids have adjusted to the expectations from an academic standpoint as well as a disciplinary standpoint. So I've really been pleased with what I've seen with regard to how they've conducted themselves, and I certainly hope and pray that we continue in that vein. The ASVAB test, which is the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery, which is the test that students take to be admitted into the military, will be offered on November the 11th, which is this coming Wednesday, I believe it is. We have a number of students who've signed up to take that test. I'm glad to see that because I'm one of those persons who's from Denmark, from a small town, who understands the importance of kids having options when they get their high school diploma. So it was good for me to see that many juniors as well as some seniors who are taking it for a second time in an effort to improve their score in hopes of potentially being admitted into the armed forces. The Blackfield Healthcare Rehabilitation Center is having a Veterans Day program on this coming Thursday at 10:30 a.m. The reason I mention that is that the Denmark High School drill team and the color guard will attend that event. The color guard will post the colors for the Veterans Day program, and the drill team will actually perform for the veterans and other residents of that particular facility. And that again is this coming Thursday at 10:30 in Blackfield. The JROTC is currently having a Thanksgiving Day food drive at Denmark High School. They're collecting non-perishable food items to distribute to various families in Denmark as well as in Ola for Thanksgiving. The last day for the collection is November the 14th, and we have 2 distribution dates established, November the 15th, and the makeup day is the 16th for any persons that we go to deliver to who may not be at home on the 15th. We will make a return trip on the 16th to deliver those supplies. We have a Veterans Day program scheduled at Denmark High School this coming Friday at 8:30 a.m. And our guest speaker is our own Kevin Butch Crosby. We're looking forward to hearing what Coach Crosby has to say as it pertains to his experience in the military. We have Club Day that's scheduled for this coming Thursday, November 17th. And basically that's an opportunity for kids to attach themselves to a group that speaks to their interests outside of just their academic interests in the school. We have clubs such as FCCLA, Students Supporting Students, the South Carolina Future Farmers of America Association. We have the Sports and Pet Club, the Gentlemen's Club, the Stock Market Club, the Debate and Chess Club, and the Viking Chronicle, also known as our school newsletter. and they will be meeting on November 17th. And then, just as information, November the 28th, kids will be getting their interim reports, which is basically the midpoint of the 9 weeks.
Great.
And I will entertain any questions that you may have at this time.
Any questions for Dr. Simmons? No? Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Next up, we have Dr. Evans with Richard Carroll Elementary School.
Hello, everyone.
Good evening.
How are you tonight?
Great. How are you?
I'm great.
Good.
Thank you for asking. So Richard Carroll, this month, our enrollment is at 626 as of the time this report was written, which was down 3 students from last month. I am happy to say that our discipline is also down for the first time this school year. We only had 30 incidents, which I know that still seems a little bit high, but compared to what we've been running, it's significantly lower. I think last month we had 52, so it's significantly lower. So I attribute a lot of that to the work our teachers are doing in their classrooms. I have conducted 25 teacher observations since our last board meeting, and I just want to shout out because our staff has been through a lot. This is by far the best teaching staff I have ever worked with anywhere in any other school district. Teaching and learning is taking place in their classrooms every single day, every time I go in there. And I think that's why our discipline's starting to come down. The strategies that they're putting in place, the thinking outside the box to make sure that we keep kids in class and don't just send them home. All of those kinds of things are playing a role. And so I would be remiss if I didn't take the time to say how much I appreciate the work that they do. And I wish you guys could just come in and go in their classes every day because you would be, I'm in awe every single day of what they do.
Great.
3 of those teachers have been awarded a Tri-County Foundation grant of $600. 2 first grade teachers, Ms. Ness and Ms. Harper, and then Ms. Huffstetler in K-5. They all applied for grants and were awarded $600 apiece. And we have started our data team meetings for the year. We had our first one. We are doing a very good job, the teachers are doing a very good job of Tier 1 instruction, just that basic best practices, every day, day in, day out. So our focus this year is kind of Tier 2, those kids that might be a year behind or on the bubble. And so we've started that process, and that's going really well so far. Our PTO, again, I can't say enough about them. They held or put on our fall carnival, and we had a lot of kids show up. And Ms. Coker and Mrs. Hurst were there. Thank y'all for coming. I got the pleasure of kissing a pig. It was wonderful. It was a cute little baby pig, and it was so adorable. The kids raised $1,082 just to get me to kiss that pig. Wow. They brought in pennies and bags of change every day. Overall, our PTO raised a little over $4,000 for the whole event. So one night, it was a great turnout. Of course, y'all know me. I put pictures in there so you could see what you might have missed if you couldn't be there. And then, of course, we have a lot going on. I put all the dates in here. But every grade level has had a field trip, or in the next few weeks, we'll have had a field trip. So before we meet again in December, every grade at Richard Carroll will have been on a field trip. Every student will have experienced something off school grounds this year. And then we are also having our first quarter awards day on November 18th, that afternoon in our gym. And so we want to celebrate what the kids have done first 9 weeks.
What time?
At 1 o'clock. And those are going to kind of be by invitation only for parents of the kids that are going to be awarded. Any questions?
Any questions? No?
Okay.
Thank you so
guys.
much. Thank you, Dr. Evans. Next up, we have Denise Miller with Bamberg Earhart Middle School. Welcome. I didn't see you when I walked in. You were hidden back there.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right.
Well, greetings from the middle school.
Greetings.
October has been a very productive month for the EMS. Our current enrollment is 192. We're exactly the same as last time. Our school discipline for the month of October, we had 34 incidents, and then we had 3 peace flag celebrations. And a peace flag celebration is they give me 10 days apiece, and I give them 2 days of their cell phones at lunch. And so it's a great opportunity to get them to cooperate together. We had a civic responsibility lesson on October the 12th. Our students learned how to fold the flag. This opportunity was sponsored by Ms. Shannon Herndon of the Bamberg County 4-H and also our high school JROTC. Our 7th grade students took a field trip to Ruth Patrick Science Center in Aiken on October the 17th. And we had a wonderful staff development session. I just want to thank you guys for our calendar. On the 18th, our staff diagnosed itself the school culture that determined that they want to spend more time together. So we set several goals for fellowship going forward. Our guidance counselor led our students in a pledge against gun violence. We observed the Great Shakeout earthquake drill. We sent home first quarter report cards, and we observed Red Ribbon Week October 24th through 28th. We began our after-school support program October the 25th. We also had School Picture Day on October the 25th. We had our Junior Garnet and Black ceremony, which honors our honor roll student, and board member Eccles attended, and we thank you for that. And then just a quick update on our B team athletics. Our volleyball team ended with 4 wins and 6 losses, and our football team ended the season with 6 wins and 1 loss. And I was rushing to get to the most important thing on this list. I am so proud of the staff and faculty and students of Bamberg Earhart Middle School. And on our South Carolina School Report Card, BEMS was rated excellent. That rating not only belongs to our staff and our faculty, that rating belongs to each one of you and our district administration. Without you, it would not be possible.
Great. Thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Miller? No? All right, thank you so much. Next up, we have Jordan Smith with Bamberg Earhart High School. Hi, Jordan.
Good evening.
I love your report.
Board, anyone else in attendance? Your enrollment data is before you. We included a chart for you. I've noticed a trend. We've been losing on an average 2 a month. Our senior class, thankfully, is staying steady at 94. And our freshman class is also remaining steady at 96. And I wish to continue to chart this as we go forward. Any ideas that we can come up with of how we can address loss is at the forefront of our minds. Total disciplinary incidents, we have a total of 55 incidents for the year. But I'm proud to say only 12 from October. And I think if you work in the school, you understand October is a month. It's a month. So 12 in October, we're pretty proud about that. Also, overall, just in conversation with teachers and students, the overall climate concerning discipline is good. Teachers feel supported, and students don't think their principal is doing too much. Right? That's great for keeping morale high. It's good for teacher retainment and also just overall academic performance. Speaking of academic performance, the major thing that we're doing at Bamberg High School to address end-of-course test scores is we have implemented an hour-long lunch program and end-of-course test preparation period. Thanks to our support from our superintendent and financial staff, we were able to get progress learning, which helps us to provide a curriculum during that time that is standards-based. And it includes multiple assessments. Progress learning used to be US test prep. And I know that's been used throughout the district, but it's kind of new to be EHS using it school-wide to help push this program. Our overall goal is to increase EOC passage rates, and as you know, that is tracked in our school report card. So the program will run Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 11:05 to 11:25. That's the first 20 minutes of lunch. Students will still have 36 minutes to eat and do what they do at lunch, But we are requiring them to, if they are enrolled in one of those courses, to be present during that first 20 minutes. We've sent letters home to parents, and thankfully we've had no blowback. So I really appreciate the community supporting us in that effort to prepare our students for end of course tests. Item D, you will see the tested subjects, Algebra 1, English 2, U.S. History, and Biology. This program will begin, and I want to say this is phase 2 of the program. Up to this point, we've been doing it all year, but it's only been a select few needing the remedial. But at this point, going into the respective EOC starting Wednesday, November 9th, it's an all-out push. Everybody is required in those courses to do that in hopes of preparing our students and raising our scores. We have October 19th, our guidance department escorted 40 seniors to the campus of University of Salkehatchie for a college career fair. And that was a good opportunity to expose our children to colleges and careers in our areas and things they may be interested in. And likewise, on November the 15th, our students, all seniors all invited seniors. Let me rephrase that. All seniors have been invited to attend Ed Hoc Day at Voorhees College, which is another opportunity of exposing our kids, giving them opportunities to apply, teaching them about financial aid, and exploring that avenue for the next step. And last but not least, something to quiet the tummy rumbles. I am proud to say that our ProStart culinary and management team invited me, an outside chef, Ms. Omer, guys. We had a nice testing opportunity as these students are preparing to compete in Myrtle Beach that first week of March. So I was able to sit back and be a judge at one thing that I am good at. They have prepared for you a soup. Students, will you please stand with Dr. Hunt, would you please stand? We're very proud of you. Students, you might introducing yourself and telling us you're senior, sophomore.
I'm Amber Ted, and I'm a senior. I'm Kazari Young, and I'm a senior, and I'm the leader of the national team.
No, because we're young and I'm senior.
Okay.
Kathy Hunt, instructor.
All right.
I'm Jordan Smith, and I hope they got me some soup too. Any questions?
Great.
Can one of them let us know what kind of soup it is?
It's loaded potato. One of our students actually did this recipe for a competition. We had a large number of students that wanted to go to competition, and I could only take 4 per team. So we had to do a mini competition in-house to kind of figure out who was going to be on our team. So last year was our first year competing, and our management got 4th place. So I would say.
Great. All right.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, Mr. Smith, I really appreciate your report. I know you know that. Thank you very much. And if anyone has no questions for him, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Before we move on to the athletic report with our athletic director, Robert Williams, something that I happened to notice when I received my board packet was Ms. Goldsmith as well as Dr. Simmons with Denmark Middle School and then Denmark Oler High School on their reports, and I'm addressing this to you, I'm sorry. On their reports, they happen to break down the discipline incidents, and I really like that because it gives us the opportunity to kind of see a little bit more detailed and track what the trends are that's going on. So if the board has no objection to that, I would ask as superintendent if you could instruct all of the principals to incorporate that into their report. I was extremely impressed with that. And I know it's, probably been there in the past, but it really caught my eye as I went one by one.
Grass Hill. Yes.
Yeah, so that would be nice if we could do that.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. So now we are down to item number 5, which is the athletic report of our athletic director, which is Robert Williams.
Hey,
Good evening, how are you?
good.
Great.
Well, we're wrapping up our fall season, and all our varsity sports at Bamberg and Denmark finished with winning records and made the playoffs. So we've had a successful season so far. Our cross-country team, they will be running at the state meet Thursday. The girls will run at 1 o'clock, the boys will run at 1:30 at, I think, Sand Hills Research Center in Columbia. Both football teams are in the second round. Denmark will travel to Louisville, and they're going to play Thursday night. Due to the weather coming in Friday, they will play Thursday night at 7:30 in Louisville, and Bamberg will travel to Johnsonville. Right now they're playing Friday, but I think that game's going to be moved to Saturday,
Okay.
and it will be at 7:30 also. The basketball and wrestling, our winter sports, they're in the middle of tryouts right now. Their season will start at the end of November, so it's not much of a break going in from one season to the next. And I also would like to recognize 3 individuals. Michaela Hallman, she was All-State Volleyball from Bamberg, and Keithan Washington from Denmark, and Marion Buckman from Bamberg they made North-South football, which will be at Myrtle Beach in December, and they both made the Border Bowl, which is in Augusta in January.
Right. Great, that's good.
Any questions?
Any questions? No?
Thank you. You said the games are, Coach?
The North-South is in Myrtle Beach, and I think it's December the 9th or 10th, whatever that Saturday is.
No, the playoff football games. What time did you say?
Denmark will be in Louisville Thursday at 7:30, and Bamberg will be in Johnsonville either Friday or Saturday at 7:30.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. I just want to really thank all of the principals as well as our athletic director for the reports that you all are giving us. It just seems as the months go by, they just get better and better, and I know that, that's a, work that you have to put into that. And on behalf of the board, we really, really do appreciate it. Even when you're giving your reports, you're giving it with enthusiasm, and I'm enjoying watching that, and some of us are animated, and I'm loving that too, Jordan. So I just want to say on behalf of the board, we really do appreciate the efforts that every principal, as well as our athletic director, puts into doing this, because I know that it's not easy, and we do appreciate it. You give us enough information, and if we have questions, I mean, most of the time we don't because you're so thorough, so we appreciate that very much. All right, next up on the agenda is item number 6, which is the student staff recognition and superintendent's report, and I will turn that over to Dr. Brown.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
And I too wanted to start off my report tonight saying thank you to all the principals and staff for the continued efforts and service to our schools and our children and our families. Every day we're celebrating our victories and our strengths, but we are working collaboratively and diligently in incorporating, as you heard here tonight, innovative approaches to meet all of our students' needs and our schools and our district's needs. And I can't thank them enough for the hard work that they put into this every day and the long hours. I'd also like to say thank you to the coaches and our student athletes for the hard work that they put into their programs and what they do, and the time's dedicated to put into making sure these students get to participate in these events. They travel a lot, they're on the road a lot, and a lot of our staff spend more time with students and doing these activities than they do with their own families. It is a great sacrifice that they invest in our students to make sure they have opportunities, and I just want to say a personal thank you to them. And I wish all of our student athletes the very best this week in the coming playoffs. I would also like to recognize, as you all know, we had a side event or an event at a football game Friday night in Denmark. I would like to thank the coaches, I'd like to thank our security, and I'd like to thank our spectators. because that was quickly gotten back under control, and I just can't thank those individuals enough. You know, we're in the playoffs. Tensions are high, emotions are high, adrenaline's high. And as teams and sports and young athletes, we have to learn to control that and move through that. But we certainly want to commend all of our students, all of our programs, all of our coaching staff, and tell them they've done a great job, and we wish them the very best as they proceed through this season. And as we head into the next, basketball is here. So, move on.
Before you move on, I just want to say that we appreciate all that was done to get those matters under control in Denmark, and I would also just like to commend you and the staff with regards to the rules that you've come up with that the board has approved, and we moved forward with posting that. Could you share with the board a little bit what would have or could have happened had we not had the rules in place and everyone was standing up against the fence, and just all the things that we've done in the past that we've had in the past? How have those rules made a difference with regards to, we can use Friday's game as an example? Can you share that with the board?
Sure. As you all know, just about every school in the state and every state in the country has implemented or increased safety efforts with what's happening in our country and in our state right now with violence and episodes, and particularly events happening at athletic events, even threats for things to happen at athletic events. Bamberg County Schools, like every other school, is out of the now 85 school districts, 87 I think it is now, across the state, all work diligently with multiple agencies to establish what we thought was the fairest and safest rules to apply to all. And when I say multiple agencies, I would like to include the South Carolina State Department of Education, South Carolina High School League, Denmark City Police Department, Bamberg City Police Department, Denmark Technical College, Bamberg County Sheriff's Department, the school board, all the principals, and myself. Those rules went through multiple layers of reviews, starting from the State Department, working on their way down, and then we posted them. We did pretty much what every other school district has done. What that prevents is two things: children being supervised by parents. We're not in a day and time where you don't want children to be supervised by an adult, whether it's a parent or another adult. Earlier in the season, we had football games where there were multiple fights. Most of these occurred with middle school, older elementary students and middle school students and younger high school students. During those fights, it was difficult for law enforcement agencies to even find parents because parents were not there. And yes, it is a shame that the multitudes of all have to pay the price for a few. But it is what it is. We are here to protect all and not just a few. So the rules were implemented to make our events safer for everyone to attend and to enjoy, from young children to senior citizens. What the law enforcement officers came to us with, these are the events that we're seeing the most difficulty with. These are the ones that we like to prioritize and address. One's crowd control around your concession stands, around your bathrooms, people congregating on the fence. We've also had issues with people congregating on the fence and saying very offensive things, even making threats to our student athletes and our coaches and the referees. The referees have also met with the athletic director and myself and our coaches. It's just like their profession. They're seeing shortages, and it's hard to get good referees. Referees need to feel safe in the environments in which they come to work. So, taking all of the input from layer after layer, we implemented the rules. It is there to keep for crowd control and the safety for all. If a fight breaks out, we do not want a young child who might be playing or running around or standing there to get hit or involved in that or hurt, nor any other adult. We also, when there's an event, and like you said, Friday night is an example. We have visitors on the visitor side. We have the home side up in the bleachers. We're asking people to stay in the bleachers. Of course, you go to concession stands or to the bathrooms. We expect that. But to go back or to be in assigned standing areas or assigned seating areas. This helped tremendously when that event broke out Friday night, that everybody could not leave those stands and get onto the fields. You didn't have people at the fence jumping into that. The sheriff debriefed with me and the athletic director, sheriff and the coaches and all the law enforcement officers debriefed with us. One of the things was that because there was a mass conglomeration coming out on that field, they were able to get a grip on that very quickly. And as the sheriff said, it could have been much worse had they not been able to do that. But with the crowd control being in place, that helped tremendously.
That's great. All right. I appreciate that.
And I would encourage anybody who has questions or seeks clarity or wants to give input, contact the principals, contact our AD, contact me. We'd be glad to sit down and talk and explain the whys. But it is in the best interest of everyone. And I don't think there's an event you can go to in this state or out of this state now that you won't find the similar rules. The away games now, the opposing teams, the first thing you're doing is sending their rules to myself and our AD saying, please post these so that your public knows what we expect. We have now started doing that in turn.
Yeah. What I saw and just kind of thought about after Friday's fight, when you have one situation that's going on, which is what happened,
right,
and you had your law enforcement there that was able to address that, had we had maybe spectators that were just wherever they normally were prior to the rules being in place, something else could have broken out. Law enforcement that was handling one situation would then have to spread themselves thin to potentially handle another situation. There's so many things that could have happened and could have gone wrong. And I'm just glad that there was just that incident that was being handled by law enforcement versus multiple situations that could have happened had the rules not been in place. So I applaud you and the staff and the board for supporting all of that, and everyone that had a hand in just giving that consideration, because first and foremost, it's the safety. That's what matters.
Absolutely.
It's nothing personal. It is about the safety of the kids, of the spectators, everyone that attends, law enforcement. It's about safety. That's what it's all about.
We have 5 different law enforcement agencies now collaborating and partnering with our school district. It took great effort to make that happen from all 3 of the agencies I just listed, plus SLED, who are cooperating with us now and helping to provide security. We've doubled security at all of our events pretty much. And like I said, we want everybody to feel safe when they're coming into our houses for anything.
Of course.
And I wouldn't want any child to get hurt or any bystander to get hurt in something when we could have avoided that. So it's best to be proactive than reactive.
Right.
We're doing everything we can to make our events safe.
Yes.
I think one thing that probably was not understood by a lot of people, they seem to think that these rules were made locally, but they were not just local rules. And I think that it's good to have that clarified.
Yeah, there was a lot of research that was involved in that, and Bamberg County is not the only county that is doing this. There are so many other counties. We're just in a different time today. We're in a different age. We're just dealing with so many other obstacles that it's just important that we feel safe when we go to a game, that we feel safe when we play in a game. That nothing is going to, happen where you have, multiple, potential lives that could, be at danger. So there was a lot of thought that went into that. It was not just a willy-nilly, as some people may think that it was, but that's far from the truth. There was a lot of research that went into that, and it was very necessary.
And change is hard.
Oh, change is very hard.
And
You're
we're
right.
not used to dealing with issues that we have to deal with today.
Well, change is inevitable, and when you encounter things that are happening as you just kind of move throughout life, you have to do what I call grow. not necessarily change, just grow. You have to grow with the times, and with growth is the change. And, you know, not all of us are happy about, you know, different things that's changing, but this is the environment that we're in, and this is what we have to do to keep everyone safe. And, you know, we just have to learn how to adapt. So I don't take any of it personal. I know it's, you know, it's in the best interest of everyone, so. I mean, I wouldn't mind hanging out on the fence, but, you know, something could happen rather quickly that could get out of control, so. The rules are in place for a reason, and that reason is safety.
Okay, so moving on down, the next thing I'd like to bring to your attention is you heard all the principals tonight give you reports on their enrollment. I would like to, I've included, just handed you out to add to my superintendent's report, district-wide, comparisons from last year this time. November 1st of 2021, we had 1,797 students enrolled in Bamberg County School District. And on November 1st of 2022, we had 1,774, so we're down about 23 students across the district.
Okay.
We've seen that kind of trend before in the past. We tend to pick back up again in January, then level back off again in March, and again next May. So we're following similar patterns of district enrollment dips and rises as we've seen in the past. But we are down from a year ago. All right, school report cards. You heard one principal tonight mention their school report cards. School report cards become unembargoed a couple weeks ago. I ran copies. I provided you copies of each school report card, and I would just like to make mention of a few things here for your information tonight. All of our schools showed improvement. Richard Carroll remained the same. All the rest of our schools moved, which is what we hope for all of our schools. And it might be what some consider small movement, but our goal is movement, and we have it. And that's why I wanted to start off tonight commending all of our principals, faculty, and staff for the hard work they're doing, because it's showing. Denmark-Oler Elementary School improved from below average 4 years ago to average in 2021-2022. Denmark-Oler Middle School also improved from unsatisfactory 4 years ago to below average in 2021-2022. Denmark-Oler High School went from unsatisfactory 4 years ago to below average in 21-22. And only Bamberg Earhart High School went down slightly, only by a couple of points. You know, they say the only way to go from the being at the very top.
Right.
But Bamberg Earhart High School did slip slightly, falling from excellent to average. We have no doubt that will improve. And of course, Richard Carroll remained the same. So I just wanted to commend everybody on the job well done. I was wanting to recognize tonight the Denmark-Oler Elementary School. You heard from Dr. Ray. I won't go into that much again, since she had it on her report, but congratulations to she and her school for winning the $500 Foundational Skills Artist in Justice grant. I'd also like to recognize that Mrs. Carol Bradman. She was selected as District Teacher of the Year, and she will now go on to compete for State Teacher of the Year, representing Bamberg County School District.
That's great.
I would also like to bring your attention that Ms. Moody has provided you with. I think this is about 4 years worth of work. We started this way back when with the Consolidation Planning Committee. As some of you on that committee, Ms. Bonaparte, Ms. Walker, know the hard work that went into this. But we have now fully updated all the jobs in our new Bamberg County Consolidated District, complete with job descriptions. So we furnished you with a copy of those. Those are also available online for anybody listening tonight or in attendance tonight and wishes to see those. And I would like to thank Ms. Moody, because that's been about a year's worth of typing, retyping, editing. It was a lot. So thank you, Ms. Moody. They look very nice.
Yes, they are. Very organized.
And unless there's other questions for me, that concludes my general superintendent's report.
All right. Move on to number 7, which is request for out-of-state overnight trips.
Okay. We have two that I'll bring to you tonight. The first is for Bamberg Hart boys basketball teams traveling to Myrtle Beach during winter break. They typically take this trip every year. It's no cost to the districts. The students raise their own money. You have in front of you the dates, which would be December 19th through December 21st. You have a list of the adults who will be chaperones, including all three of the coaches. And much like the last time we had an overnight field trip request, the permission slips have to go home, have to get those back. So with the board's permission, I'm asking for approval tonight, but closer to the time of the trip, since we are not anticipating a board meeting in December, that we send, I had Ms. Moody email the list of students' names that will attend on that trip once we get the permission slips back.
Okay. Board members, you've heard what Dr. Brown has requested with regards to the field trip for the Bamberg Earhart boys basketball team going, or I should say selected team members going to Myrtle Beach to participate in the Carvers Bay basketball tournament. What's the pleasure of the board with regards to approval of this trip?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
at this time, I make a motion that we accept the request for the field trip overnight for the Bamberg Earhart boys basketball to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, December the 19th, returning on December the 21st.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, if you're in favor of this, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none, the ayes have it and the motion carries. Jessica, when the list of names are provided and you send that list out to the board members, can you just make sure that you put a notation that it's FYI only, so that board members will know that they don't have to do anything with it other than review it? Thank you.
Second overnight field trip request. Second overnight out-of-state request comes to us from our federal programs director, Ms. Phyllis Overstreet. With that role comes responsibility for federal professional development. This is one of the required conferences as part of that required professional development. It is paid for by federal funds for that person in that position. So I'm asking for your approval for her to travel to Washington, D.C. from March 26th through 29th to the National Association of Federal Programs Administrators Conference.
All right, board members, you've heard Dr. Brown. What's the pleasure of the board with regards to this out-of-state training?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
at this time, I make a motion that we grant permission for Ms. Overstreet to attend this conference on March the 26th to 29th, Washington, D.C., National Association of Federal Programs Administrators Conference.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, if you're in favor of this, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none, the ayes have it and the motion carries. All right. We are now down to item number 8.
Okay. As you all know, I've been informing the board on and off and keeping them informed of our progress. And you hear the principals here tonight just giving you updates too, particularly Ms. Goldsmith at Denmark Middle School. We are still in need of certified teachers at Denmark Middle School. Denmark Middle School houses grades 6, 7, and 8. Currently, we are in need of 5 core subject teachers, 2 social studies, 2 sciences, and 1 math. We're also in need of 3 fine arts teachers, music, art, and we also need a media specialist. But we need a media specialist at all 3 Denmark Color schools. So just music and art. But with that, the board challenged me with the task to start looking at options. We did start looking at options last month, so I wanted to give you an update on filling those roles with other options. But since that time came as you know, all of our schools, with the exception of Bamberg Earhart High School, are Title I schools. With Title I, which we received several millions of dollars in federal funding. With that comes responsibility. It's called a comparability test. We've never had to do that before in Bamberg County Schools because we were 2 separate districts. Each district had 1 elementary, 1 middle, and 1 high. Now that we are consolidated, we have 2 elementaries, 2 middle, and 2 high. Under the federal programs rules, there's a test of comparability. The elementary has to be comparable to the elementary on both sides of county, same for the middle, same for the high. The issue that we have is we cannot meet the test of comparability for federal programming at our middle schools because of our vacancies in teachers. Therefore, the district's having to seek, at your direction, we, myself, the principals, looking at how can we fill these voids. And one option is that we seek, and one of the, Miss Molly's visited with me. I've been in constant contact with South Carolina State Department of Education, working closely with them to help resolve this issue. We're certainly not the only district facing this issue. There's a teacher shortage all across the state and the nation, and we are no different. So we've been working very carefully with them. They suggested that we cannot fill the vacancies, that we look at possibly providing, working with contracted companies to supply personnel. So in your packet tonight, I've given you a breakdown of 3 of the companies that the state was familiar with and directed us to. The first one being Soliant, the second one Elevate K-12, and the third one being Proximity. So contracting with these companies to obtain certified teachers is an option. However, the first company, Soliant, that's a teacher who would come and teach in person. The problem is they met with Mr. Ulmer, Ms. Overstreet, and Ms. Farr, and we were finding out more about this. Is first they want us to contract with them, and then they go out and look for the teachers. So we have to meet comparability by January 15th of 2023. Or else, we don't know what will happen if we don't meet that comparability. But the worst case scenario is that it affects our federal funding. And when I say it affects it, you've been given a list of the amount of money that could be pulled from our district if we don't meet comparability. So on page 2, we received $1.2 million, over $1.2 million from Title I, $122,700 something for Title II, over $90,000 Title IV. This is not all the money we received, but this is the amounts of money that would be affected for each one of these. $52,000 in Perkins and Cade's money, and over $615,000 in IDEA. The district cannot afford to lose this funding. 90 to 95% of this funding pays salaries. So it is imperative that we meet comparability. So keep that in mind as I go through these choices. So going back to the front page, so Soliant, it provides a live teacher, which we have shown through our own district state data, our students respond best to, live in-person instruction. But you can't produce what you don't have. Going to Elevate and Proximity, they have staff on hand, they have certified staff, they can start immediately, but that is virtual instruction. We still would have to have a long-term sub or aide in the classroom to proctor the class. So, but those can be provided immediately. I provided a breakdown of the cost for you, cost and contract terms. The one that myself and our federal programs director and all of the principals are leaning more towards, if we had to choose one, would be Proximity. They offer a month-to-month contract versus a whole year. You can break it at any time. And they're prepared to fill the 5 core subject areas of the vacancies. And you see the cost there for January through the end of this school year, would total about $281,000. But that would help us meet the test of comparability under our federal programming. And the other option is one we don't like to talk about, but it is one we must talk about because the board directed me to come with options, and I have to present all of them. And the last one is, if we don't go with this option and we can't fill the positions, final option is to merge schools. Merge schools. Okay. What I propose to the board tonight is that the board give serious consideration and instruct us on which option they'd like for us to pursue for the remainder of the school year. I'm suggesting, in collaboration with our principals, that we look at the option of contracting with proximity. I don't think it would be fair and just to our students, to their parents, nor to our staff to try to merge schools in the middle of the school year. Also, there's lots to be done with that. Planning, education, meetings, power school scheduling, lots. So, on behalf of our school administrators, faculty, and speaking for our students, because I have their best interest in my heart and head at all times, is that we look at the option of contracting for the remainder of this year, continuing our recruiting efforts and trying to fill these positions, and then revisiting this in the spring in preparation for next school year. But I would ask the board to vote, or to have the board's blessing, or directives on which options they wish us to pursue.
Well, let's let the board talk about this. I think, board members, that these are just my thoughts, or maybe I should take your thoughts before I tell you what my thoughts are. Which one would you prefer?
Yours.
Okay. You guys comfortable with mine? My thoughts would simply be, since Dr. Brown is the superintendent, to provide her with the authority to proceed as she feels necessary. I believe that she would make the right decision on behalf of Bamberg County School District. This is more in your well than it is in ours, other than the financial part of it. We know that, we have a fiduciary responsibility to take care of our dollars and cents and pennies and all that. But we also know that you would be better suited in making the proper decision on behalf of Bamberg County. Those are just my thoughts. And you don't have to agree with it. You can give me your own thoughts, and I am still going to love each and every one of you, even if you don't agree with me.
Madam Chairman, Dr. Brown suggested proximity. And if you look at the cost, it might cost $52,000, but compared to the amount of money we would lose,
Right.
that doesn't sound like much.
Right.
So,
Madam Chairman, I agree that we definitely have to do something. I, however, have, may I please ask
Yes.
Dr. Brown about two questions?
Absolutely.
First, I was concerned about the additional cost for using the LMS, which I guess is our technology system. That's under proximity in the third. Is it expensive to use all that stuff? Or?
No, everything's factored into the cost we gave you at the bottom.
Okay, thank you. And then also, I noticed that the representative did not give a straight answer about students with accommodations. I was rather hurt about that.
No, but we have that worked out in our discussion with them, that, yes, that can be done in the classroom. But remember I said there would still be an adult in the classroom.
Right.
Those would still be provided.
Okay, I have a couple more questions. Would the adult, do you think the long-term subs would stay as the classroom
Yes.
manager? That's the plan. And have you found out if they're in agreement with that?
The long-term subs?
Yeah.
But
You might not have even mentioned it, but,
No.
But they feel like, basically we feel like they will continue from that.
yes, we do.
Okay, that's good. When would this be able to start? How long do it take?
When the board gives me their directive tonight, I will act on this tomorrow morning.
So it could be like in 2 or 3 weeks, so it would even be in November?
As soon as we can get the contract drawn up, signed, the absolute deadline is January
January
15th. So
15th.
all would be in place before January.
Right, but when does the second semester start?
That same week,
Okay.
January, I think I don't remember the exact date, I'm looking at this, like the 16th.
What's the biggest reason why you didn't like to elevate K-12? Because it was a lot more expensive?
that, and it doesn't have the month-to-month contract. We want to be able to get in that contract as soon as we can fill all these positions. If we can fill all these positions by March, we're done with that contract.
Well, that's a very strong reason to go.
Any other board member have any comments?
Oh,
Yes.
It does say that paraprofessional training is going to be provided by the company. So is that, will there have to be a substitute while the long-term sub is being trained?
No, we don't anticipate that. We can accommodate that outside the classroom.
Oh, really? Great. And the company
It's
is willing
flexible,
to do
yes.
that too? That's
Mhm.
wonderful.
Any other questions? So maybe we can entertain a motion to give Dr. Brown the go-ahead to move in the necessary direction. And I say that because anything can happen, it can change, and something could happen and change, and this may not go through.
Right.
Anything can happen, so without having to go back to the drawing board, if we could entertain, and if you all are comfortable with this, great. If you're not, speak up. Entertaining some type of motion where we just grant her the authority to move forward with making sure that we are in compliance by or before the 15th of January 2023. Yes, ma'am.
May I please ask one more question?
Absolutely.
Okay, I just thought of this. What if apparently the people that are hired as teachers might not be from the South. And what if their accent is very difficult for the students to understand? And I know that's very petty, but
We will gauge that, and we can work with the
you
company.
can work with the
yes,
company and say, hold it.
to address that issue.
Okay.
Correct.
I'm just thinking, we don't want to get in that situation.
I understand.
Yeah.
Madam
Question?
Chairman, may I please make a motion?
Before you make the motion, did anyone have any other comments? You good? Okay, yes, ma'am.
Well, did somebody else want to make? a
They're
motion?
good. No, go for it. You got the mic.
Well, first I would like to say that I commend you for looking for a solution, because this is a horrible problem in many ways.
It caused you a lot of sleepless nights, let me say that.
Mhm.
Excuse me?
It caused you a lot of sleepless nights.
I'm sure. For many reasons. So therefore, Madam Chairman, I would like to move that we give the superintendent the ability to go ahead and pursue this, hopefully with the proximity company, so that we can provide the education we need for our students in a way that will be the best for our district.
Okay, before we have a second, let me just ask, because you mentioned proximity, and I know that that is what we're talking about, but I would like to have more of an open-ended motion, so can you amend that
Yes, I
to
can.
give her the authority to do whatever
What
is
is
best
best for
in the
the
best
entire
interest?
situation.
Yes.
Make-
If you can amend a motion, so amend your motion to
And I
say,
would like to amend it that it could be any company that is the best for the district, for the situation. Not any one specific company. I'm not making a motion for a specific company. So,
I would be more comfortable if you could amend the motion where it simply gives her the authority to move in the necessary direction
okay. May I
that's in the
please-
best interest of her children.
May I please amend my motion to say that I would like us to give the superintendent the ability to move in the direction that is in the best interest of the district.
That is absolutely perfect.
Second.
And we have a second. Any other discussion?
Thank you very much.
Absolutely, I appreciate that. Any other discussion? If all in favor, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? No? All right.
Can I add something to that now that the board has reached that decision?
Well, okay, so there's no opposition? No? Okay, hearing none. The ayes have it and the motion carries. Go
Now
ahead.
the motion's carried. Thank you.
Yes.
I would like to say to the public here tonight and listening tonight that has grave concerns about this very issue, that if I don't lead in a silo. I have a collective leadership with our principals. We'll be working together on this matter, and we'll make a decision together about this matter. Keep in mind, what we just discussed gets us through the remainder of this year. We may be discussing this again. I will continue to keep the board up to date as we progress to fill in these positions. And as you heard the principal tonight comment, this teacher was able to come back, this teacher was able to come back. I mean, we're literally got boots on the ground, going to door, knocking on doors, calling people we know, calling university schools we know. We'll continue those recruiting efforts. I'll keep the board and the public apprised of our progress towards this. But rest assured, there's a lot of talk already in the community and out in the public. There's a lot of misinformation out there. I want them to get accurate information, and I encourage anybody who has questions in the public about this, or if you're hearing, oh, we're merging schools, we're hearing this one's closing it, before you believe what you hear or read on anything other than our district websites, please call me. I'll be glad to see you in person. Call me and come to my office. But before we spread the untruths in the community, come get the truth. And there will be lots of community meetings held when the time, and if the time comes, to fully inform the public, to fully inform the parents involved, especially the teachers in those meetings with faculty, staff, schools, students, and parents.
Okay.
I just want to say, you mean Facebook's not accurate?
Hardly. Hardly. I think the advent of Facebook was simply for folks to connect and find folks that you hadn't seen, and now, you know, some folks believe that Facebook is the new Bible, and it is far from that. Dr. Brown, I would like to ask, since we're talking about this, and we know that we're struggling in finding teachers, as is every district across, South Carolina and across the U.S. period. But I would like to see us work towards having a plan in place by 6/30 of 2023, so that when we're, and I know that it would be, I know that, but I'm just, asking for the board. So when you see, as we're starting to get into hiring and contracts and all that good kinds of stuff that starts after the first of the year, when you see that, maybe things are going wonderful and we filled every position, that would be absolutely great. But if that is not the case, the sooner that the board knows and understand what's going on, the better that we can be prepared.
And the same goes true for the public.
Absolutely.
We anticipated, the principals and myself anticipate that we would have a plan in place, and we would know for sure where directions we're going for school year 23-24.
Great.
By April or May.
Sounds good. All right. Okay. Anything else under number 8?
No, ma'am.
Okay. We will move on to item number 9, which is approval of the 2022 board calendar.
Yes, ma'am. You have in your packets, every year we have to publicly publish our board meeting calendar. Therefore, in this meeting, I would like to present the draft that's in front of you, beginning with January 9th. There are 2 dates on the calendar, though, that I need to ask the board to think about and to possibly make some decisions tonight. If you will notice, July 3rd, that's a holiday. Also, September the 4th, that's Labor Day. So I'd like to ask the board's pleasure. Do you wish to reschedule these meetings? And Jessica was kind enough to run on monthly calendars. What would you like? You have calendars on your phones. If you could give us a July date to, if it's the board's pleasure to move the meetings, change the meetings, or instruct us all tonight, if we have to be here on July 3rd or September 4th.
Well, since we're talking about July 3rd and September 4th, you said, I'm going to chime in with January 9th and February 6th. I'm trying to get to the right year. So January 9th kept falling on a Sunday for me because I'm in 2022. Let me go to 2023. So, I was wondering if the board would give consideration to moving the January and February meeting from a Monday to a Thursday or a Friday. Can y'all do that? Thursday or Friday? Thursday? Is that possible? Thursday? So,
January 9th, yeah.
from the 9th to the 12th?
Madam Chairman, I would have to look at the Apollo Music Club in Bamberg, hosts, they sponsor a choir festival in January.
Okay.
That includes a great number of the choirs in the county.
Okay.
That might affect, I don't know how many people it would affect, but
Okay, well, what about, we can leave the 9th. What about the one for February? Could we do, instead of February 6th, could we move it to February 9th? Which is still, again, a Thursday? Is that possible? February 9th, from the 6th to the 9th. Is that possible? Y'all have anything going on? Dr. Brown? Everybody okay with that? Okay, so we're gonna do, move from February 6th to February the 9th. January 9th will remain as it is. And that's because, yeah, February the 9th, January 9th will remain as is. And, we moved that from the 2nd to the 9th because we would still be out of school, that's correct? So that's why that one is on the 9th. So now we're down to July 3rd. July 3rd means that, what do you all want to move it to, the 10th? You want to move it to the second Monday, or you want to move it to another day that week? What's your calendar looking like?
It's good.
Which one? What's good?
people might take vacation the week of the 4th.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's
it's not Monday.
Ms. Hurst brought up an interesting point, which is a very good point. A lot of folks may be on vacation because of, the 4th being there. So maybe we should look at the following week, meaning the 10th. And does that sound okay to you all? And I know also keep in mind payroll, and I know
Right, that's what we're
keep that in mind. So you all tell us what's a better day other than July 3rd.
10th is good. We will have completed payroll. That would be.
You will have completed it.
Um,
I'm sorry?
I said it'll be actually done the week before. not
right.
just-
It'll be finished on the 7th, 6th and 7th. So it'll
Okay,
be
so
out
the
the
10th would
way.
be okay? So let me ask you a question. So on February, would you be doing payroll on the 9th?
I will have payroll done by the 8th.
You'll have it done by the 8th, okay, so we're good. So moving down to September the 4th. Board members, that's Labor Day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Labor Day.
Could you possibly move it to the 11th? Would you be a possibility?
Payroll done by the 11th? We want to do it that week. When would you have payroll done?
Yeah, that payroll done by the 6th, yes, the 11th will be fine.
So July 10th and September 11th.
So we got the changes that we have. We already have start January 9th, and we know why. So we're doing February 9th, July 10th, and September 11th.
So we're good with our making these changes, motion, okay.
Y'all good with that? Okay, well, let's make a motion, on the calendar. Hold on a second. Go ahead, you. They have a sidebar. I'm sorry, September 11th?
Yes, is that correct?
You good with that? You good with that? Are you good with that date?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I make a motion that the Bamberg County School District Monthly Board schedule for January 2023 through December 2023, January 9th, February 9th, March 6th, April 3rd, May 1st, June 5th, July 10th, August 7th, September 11th, October 2nd, November 6th, and December 4th.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor and a second. Any discussion further? Hearing none, if you're in favor of approval of this meeting schedule for January 2023 through December 2023, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none, the ayes have it, the motion carries, and you all can move forward with those dates. Just know that anything can happen, and you know, we could have to make some adjustments as we go along. That's just kind of par for the course. You all good over there at the table? Okay. Next up on the agenda is item number 10, which is discussion of board members visiting schools. And we were doing some committee meeting work for the policies, and one of our board members who's part of the committee, which is Ms. Bonaparte, just wanted to bring forth a suggestion for the board members to give some consideration to, so I'll turn it over to you, Ms. Bonaparte.
Well, after attending the last conference we had in Hilton Head, with talking with other school districts and the board members that were present, I just want to suggest to our board that I listen at the principals, commending board members for coming out. We just need more participation with the principals letting us know when certain functions are happening, because when you announce it on the first of the month, when we do, a lot of us, we just like reminders so that y'all can see our presence in the schools, because there are things happening that are going on that I feel sure that some of us could attend, but a little bit more participation. And I'm just asking the board, to consider these obligations to be present at these events that happen for the school, because when you look in the news bulletin for the South Carolina School Board Association, they print daily, weekly, whatever it is. They're always highlighting different events and things that happen in our schools. And I would just like for us to be more active and get to be a part of that, so that Bamberg County School District, when they know that we're on board and doing what's necessary for our children.
Okay. So board members, with that being said, what we would look at considering is after the first of the year, probably around February, because January is pretty taxing for a lot of the educators and the kids coming back and all that. So maybe sometime in February, and don't hold me to that month, but I would like to perhaps just do like a board workshop, and we can have some discussion on some, maybe coming up with some ideas with regards to, attending some of the events that are going on at the schools. Now, I do recognize, and I know that Ms. Bonaparte recognizes that we do have board members that have what I call 9-to-5 jobs. That means that you are on the clock from 9 to 5, or 8 to 4, or 10 to 6, or whatever your schedule is. And it may not, be you may not simply be in a position to do that, and we totally respect that. Because that's important that, you do what you have to do. But maybe we could look at some activities, even if there's some evening activities that some of the schools are having, that maybe we could, come up as board members, just kind of like maybe assign ourselves to say, okay, maybe Naomi might attend this one, and, Harriet might attend this one, but just kind of come up with, some discussion and some talk about who's going to attend what as best as we possibly can. I know that I'm getting older and I have doctor's appointments and eye appointments and all kinds of stuff going on. So, sometimes you have good intentions to attend things and things just kind of pop up. So I get that. But maybe we can do a workshop in February and take a closer look at trying to put ourselves on the calendar for our principals as well as our students. So if you all are okay with that, then we'll look at coming together and doing just a workshop.
And Madam Chairman, I think that Ms. Bonaparte's suggestion that we know maybe a month or two ahead of time, if it's possible, will help us make our calendars a little more flexible.
Yeah, it would be helpful. I know that, when the principal are giving us our reports, we're jotting down stuff, and some things are already in there, but as they're talking, maybe other things are kind of added, so we're jotting it down, and, it's easy for us to jot it down, and maybe not so easy to, remember where we jotted it down at, unless you're putting it on your calendar on your phone. Exactly. So, but let's just look at doing that, coming together and coming up with a plan of action to be able to attend some more of those functions. And I know that we can't all be everywhere, all the time, but let's improve our participation in supporting our schools on that level, okay?
Suppose you're already doing it.
A lot of us are. A lot of us are. A lot of us attend a lot of things. But what we don't know is who's doing what. So if we come together as a board and do a workshop and sit down and talk about it, then we'll say, hey, okay, I know Harriet's doing that, or, Ms. Blossom is doing that, or, Ms. Bamberg is doing this. So, oftentimes we are already doing all of that, but we just don't know who's doing what unless we happen to attend it at the same time and we see each other. And sometimes you can attend things and not see each other because the crowd is so big. So, coming together, we can kind of put our heads together and maybe come up with a little calendar or something. So I know every one of us are attending things. But it would be nice to come together and we know what we're all doing. So that's all.
We have 6 schools now.
Yeah, we have 6 schools now, not 3, 6. I know. So that's what we were talking about with regards to item number 10. And I'll move down to item number 11, which is the monthly financial report. You have it in front of you. You've gotten it in advance. You've had an opportunity to review it. What is the pleasure of the board with regards to the finance report?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
move that we accept the finance report as is.
All right.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any further discussion or any discussion? Hearing none, if you're in favor of this, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none, the ayes have it and the motion carries. We are now down to item number 13, which is executive session.
Madam Chair, this comment.
Oh, did I move? You know what? I missed that because I crossed that off. Probably because I had already looked at this and I didn't see anything. But thank you so much for bringing that to my attention. I have my contacts in and not my glasses on. There's a difference. Item number 12, which is visitors' comments, and I did take a look at the list when I first sat down. and at the start of the meeting, and there are no one that signed up for visitor comments. So we will now move down to item number 13, and thanks for keeping me in check. Item number 13, which is executive session.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I make a motion that we move into executive session to discuss employment, personnel, recommendations for hire, recommendations for resignation, discussion of release of students, and contractual matters, and all is needed.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, if you're in favor of moving into executive session, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none, the ayes have it. We will now move into executive session to discuss employment personnel, personnel recommendations for hire, personnel recommendations for resignation, discussion of release of students, contractual matters regarding incidental to potential sale of property. I'd like to thank you all for coming. You are welcome to stay. We'll be here till midnight. That's a joke. We're just kidding. But thank you all for coming. It's nice to see more community, what we do here, and, just supporting the kids in the schools. So thank you all for coming. But you are welcome to stay outside and join us back in when we're back in open session if you so choose to. Thank you. Okay, board members, I will entertain a motion to come out of executive session.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we come out of the executive session.
All right, we have a motion on the floor and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, if you're in favor of moving out of executive session back into open session, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none, the ayes have it, the motion carries. We are now out of executive session. We are down to item number 14, which is action on executive session items if needed. What's the pleasure of the board?
Madam Chair, at
Yes.
this time, I recommend that we accept the recommendations for A, employment personnel, number 1A, ED, personnel recommendations, number 2 for resignation, AM, LT, and KZ, and contractual matters, move forward with land appraisal.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion on the floor and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, if you're in favor of this, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none, the ayes have it and the motion carries. And before we move on to adjourn the meeting, it would just like to provide the board with a reminder, as well as the public, that there will be no meeting by the board during the month of December as far as a regular scheduled board meeting. We all agreed that we would not meet, and that would allow the teachers to kind of catch up and all that. Now, of course, that could change. Anything could happen that would require for us to have a board meeting, so you're kind of just, on call as necessary. But just because we're not having a meeting doesn't mean that your responsibilities as a board member stops. I know that you all know that, but it's just, I'm saying this for the public's information, that as board members, we are still board members 24 hours a day. We are all still responsible for responding to any phone calls or any inquiries. We're responsible for reading emails. So our jobs do not stop just because the board is not having a meeting. We are still responsible to act and conduct ourselves accordingly. And I know that you all know that, but that's just for the public to understand that we still continue to work even though we're not meeting. So with that being said, if all hearts and minds are clear, I'll entertain a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that this time, we need to be adjourned.
All right. Motion on the floor in a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. If you're in favor of adjourning the meeting, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none, the ayes have it and the motion carries. The meeting is adjourned.